Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards. Mark Mason. Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
That's right, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And this week, my friends, I'm finally going to share with you a secret that I've been keeping from you. That's right, my friend. This episode, I think it's going to be titled, It's Confession Time. And I'm not going to give you any more setup other than the fact that that's the title of this episode. I am going to switch straight into an hour-plus long conversation that I just recently had with my friend, John Nemo. It will all make sense to you. This is probably the most vulnerable piece of content that I've produced in a very long time. And I'm excited to finally share this secret with you so that I can move beyond it and I can move on to the next thing that life has in store for me personally and professionally. And I look forward to how it's going to free me up to get back to living the life that I was called to live. Without any further setup than that, here's the conversation I had with my friend, John Nemo. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, I am doing great, Cliff. How are you?
I've never been better. Gets better every single day.
It always does with Cliff.
Well,
come on, man.
Actually, you know the thing is I only say that response, which I say that response a lot, thankfully, but I only say that response when I genuinely feel it. Now, there are times when you might say, "Hey, Cliff, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Doing all right." Just, I know that I'm the mindset answer man, and I'm supposed to have everything figured out by this point. So, because to be qualified to teach others about mindset, I have to have pure mastery with great perfection over it all, right?
Let's stop right there. One of the things I think that endears people to your brand, endears me, and one of the things I have found most effective for online marketing and branding and connecting and sales and everything else is authenticity, transparency, just being a real person.
Yeah.
Here's the struggles I'm going through right now, or here's an obstacle I've had to work through. And you are the poster child for this with your physical health, your business challenges, emotional, spiritual, people love that. We connect with that. And I think too, that's hard, isn't it, Cliff, for people to let their guard down online and feel like, oh, I have to act like I have it all together. But in reality, nobody does.
Well, first of all, that's the key to understand is that nobody does.
No.
And I'm going to say this, but I think some of these people would agree. Tony Robbins doesn't have he's not that way all the time.
Right.
And nor was Jim Rohn or any of these other people. They didn't have it all together all of the time. We are human and we all experience circumstances in life that challenge our ability to intentionally choose what to focus on and what to believe about those things.
Yeah. And I think too, one thing for the audience I know I struggle with is it's easy when someone puts out a perfect online persona image to compare my real life to someone's online life. Yeah. And that's a real trap we can fall into in business, in entrepreneurship, is that person just seems like they have it easy every week and they're crushing their goals and they're hitting their sales and man, they never struggle. But in reality, we know you do, right? Yeah. We know everyone does. It's just, it's why I gravitate toward people like you and other people that are authentic online. And I've found for me in my own marketing, people gravitate toward that because they're like, well, I can trust you because you're not afraid to share your failures, your mess ups. Pat Flynn is somebody that he called himself the crash test dummy, of passive marketing. And I love that. And that's another person with a great authentic brand.
Yeah,
I love that.
Pat's amazing at it as well. I have found for my own journey, it seems to come naturally to me to be a transparent and authentic and to put my flaws out there. I discovered a couple years ago what my mission / purpose for being in existence on this planet was. And it all came from an exercise that Dan Miller suggested on his podcast. He says, you have all these businesses and they have these mission statements, right? But have you ever thought about creating a personal mission statement? And I remember reaching out to Dan and say, Dan, tell me more about this personal mission statement. And we got on the phone. He gave me some questions to ponder and stuff like that. He talked about values, what drives me, what is it that makes me most come alive, and all that other stuff. And then based upon some of that, just work on a first draft of a personal mission statement that kind of makes you feel like, well, yeah, I guess this is why I'm here. And I came up with something, and what I came up with during that initial exercise, and this was like, maybe 8-10 years ago, I would say that 80% of what is in existence as my personal mission statement today is the core. The 80% is still there. And wow. I've made some fine-tune adjustments along the way as I've made new distinctions about who I am and what really drives me and what do I really want. And I learned there are a couple things that I thought that drove me, but quite frankly, those were things that I thought that I should want. But it's interesting that one of the things that I learned in my personal mission statement, I don't have it in front of me, I could pull it up, but the one thing that I do know is that one of the things that I am called to do in this world is to take all of my experiences, basically all of the things that I have done where I've succeeded, all of the things that I've done where I have failed, and all of the things that I hope to do and am currently trying to achieve, and to take all of that, great, bad, indifferent, all of it, and just share it authentically. Here's what I've learned. And in hopes that by me doing this, then I will entertain people. Because my favorite thing, and this really occurred to me right after I left my day job as an insurance agent after 12 years. I'm going out to create a business. I have no experience. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm doing it in this thing called podcasting. And everybody says podcasting is dead back then, but I just couldn't bring myself to believe those people, even though they were the experts in the field at the time.
Right.
And so here I go and I'm doing this. And I realized that attracted a massive following. And I realized the entertainment value of following my journey, because everybody either loves to follow a good success story and to cheer it on, but people equally are interested in massive train wrecks. And I was going to provide either one of those solutions for them.
When I think of massive train wreck, I immediately think Cliff Ravenscraft. I mean, there's, it's like, right, flames everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's right.
So I learned that people were following me because they were entertained by what I was doing. They were entertained. I mean, literally, this is entertainment. I'm on the edge of my seat. Cliff Ravenscraft is taking risks, and he doesn't even know how things are going to turn out. Yeah. And this entertains me. So I realized that God had called me to entertain people. He also had called me to educate people. So everything that I'm learning, I can teach them. And the thing is I may be sharing things and I may not have come to some conclusions that are quite obvious to others, but other people are getting educated even if I'm not quite there yet. I haven't quote unquote caught on. So I knew that I was called to entertain, to educate. Now, this is one thing that I know, and it's actually considered one of the spiritual gifts, but I know that I've been given the gift of encouragement. It is something that I am drawn to do. I want to come alongside somebody who seemingly either has no hope or has lost hope, and I want to come alongside them and provide a sense of encouragement that you've got this, and I want to give them that. I want to rekindle an ember of hope that can be fanned into a flame so that they can rediscover their ability to dream. All right. And then, of course, I don't want to just encourage people, but I want to inspire people. And for me, specifically, what inspire means is to inspire them to action, to do something. So right. I learned that I want to share my story, which, by the way, is me talking about myself a lot, that's my number one critique that I get from people who don't like me, is that I talk about myself too much. But this is who I am, and I discovered it's like me sharing who I am entertains people, educates people, encourages people, and it inspires people. And by golly, that's why I'm on this planet, and it's what I'm going to do. And if I don't do those things, I feel dead inside.
Yeah, and there's so many good business lessons in this for everyone listening, watching, however they're going to consume this content. Is your biggest advantage in the marketplace today, no matter what field you're in, is you. It's your authentic, unique self. There is only one you. And what Cliff is talking about is sharing the real, authentic, true self through content that both informs and educates and entertains. I call it infotainment. I'm going to give you great information in an entertaining fashion. And the great thing about it, Cliff, is people who like you love you. And the people who don't like you, fine, like they can turn the channel. But the thing about it
some of those people, I wish they would turn the channel.
Yes, the trolls. But the thing is, like, that's what I see with where business is today, and with where we live in the greatest time ever. Because I grew up in the 80s. I'm 45 now. I can't even remember, Cliff. I'm getting old.
I'm just like that as well. I think I'm 46 or 42. I can't remember.
Somewhere in there.
When it comes to those exams that you routinely need to have when you turn 50, I prefer 42. So I'm telling myself that.
There you go. But when I grew up, Cliff, if I wanted people to see and hear me, I had to buy a TV station or a radio station. Like, this was not an option. Like, if I wanted people to read something I created or wrote, I had to get a book publishing deal, or I had to go work for a newspaper, or I had to buy an ad. And now we live in this era where, for good or for ill, the gatekeepers are gone. The technology and the cost of creativity is almost nothing. And that opens up this whole landscape. And I feel like there's so many people my age and even older that either are excited and adapting and jumping in like you and I do, or they're like, I don't get it. Why aren't the old ways working? But this is what's exciting about it, is you have this opportunity to not only create a great business and a great life, but you get to share your real self and attract people who like you, who engage with you and you also repel people that you wouldn't want to work with anyway, because they don't like your sense of humor. They don't like my 80s jokes. Forget it. Like, I live in the 80s, Cliff. I'm doing Vanilla Ice jokes. I'm doing, video game references. And that's what makes business fun, right? Is working with people we love. And I love the fact that you're doing that with your brand too.
Absolutely. And the thing is as authentic or as natural as it comes to me, and has always come to me, to be authentic and transparent, I want to be authentic and transparent to tell you that there are times, and it seems to be that, and this is a pattern that I'm recognizing. I'm not identifying this as a diagnosis of something that I suffer from, but it is a pattern that I've seen, is that the more successful that I become, I've been tempted to share less authentically, because for some reason, there are some beliefs that there are some thoughts that have occurred to me, that have come to me. I'm thinking these thoughts, and I'm tempted to turn them into something that I believe to be true. And that is this thought that people are attracted to my success. Yeah. Because I've had enough people who've said, Cliff, you know what inspires me is you always seem to succeed in the things that you're doing. What I love is that you made a commitment to work out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of your life. And I see you doing it. And you have succeeded in that area. And that inspires me. And I'm inspired because you said you were going to do this, and you gave up all that income, and you went and did this, and you're living the dream. And so many people, and all of a sudden, of course, I'm a words of affirmation guy, so I know this. It's those kind of things fill up my love tank, So I'm like, wow, I'm riding high, and next thing you know, I'm setting a standard for myself by the temptation to believe that it's my success that attracts people. And
I've fallen into the same trap. This is so interesting you bring this up. I have shared less and less struggles as I've gotten more and more successful. And I think you nailed it. I think I get the stakes are higher. You all of a sudden are like fearful. And I have to go back and remember, the authenticity, the clarity, the struggle is what got me here.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say, yeah, I tried something new last week and it bombed. I'm forcing myself to get back to that with, I tried a new online course and it bombed. And here's the lesson I learned. Here's how you can benefit from my experiment. And here's how I handled the mindset issue with psycho-cybernetics. And that's what we have to stay true to is, with what got you where you are, right?
Yep. So here's the one thing I can tell you is that I have remained silent about something that has been eating away inside. And I'm going to publicly share, John, for the first time with you.
Wow.
The only person that really knows what I'm about ready to share with you is my wife. My kids have probably just witnessed it just by seeing, but I'm going to share with you something here in this podcast because I want to expose what I've experienced since Free the Dream 2018. And then I want to just acknowledge that this has been a couple failures on my part, but those failures do not define me. And more importantly, what I'm excited about is how connected I am to the actual feelings and emotions of not succeeding in the things that you quote unquote have told the world you're going to do and you will never do again, and all of these other things. And then to learn from them, and that actually it's these failures that are going to help propel me to even greater and further success, so that I will not actually do these. However, before I share and expose myself for the fraud that I've been. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Here comes the train wreck part of the show.
Here comes the train wreck. Because the thing is before I share this, oh gosh, what was I going to say? It doesn't matter. I completely lost that train. That you talked about that train. That train just derailed. So here's what I want to. Oh, what I was going to say. No, it's still gone. John. All right. So here's the deal. As I was preparing for Free the Dream 2018, this idea that I'm going to host this conference. And I'm going to have 300 people that are going to come and they're going to discover, just what I want to share about what I've learned about mindset and how anything you want to achieve in life, or that you are actually called to achieve in life, that you're put here to do, you have all of the resources necessary to live that life today. But and the thing is it's 20% strategy and 80% mindset. And the thing is I've been to so many countless number of conferences that give you the strategy. All right. I want to tell you that I'm putting together the conference that's going to give you the other 80% that you need. All right. And if you don't have the strategy, let me tell you, the resources are out there. It's a phone call, a Google search, or one course or a conference away. The strategy's out there. But this mindset stuff is a big deal. All right, so I wanted to give to other people what I experienced through Unleash the Power Within in June 2016, and then subsequently again when I went. And of course I had the imposter syndrome of who am I to do this? Why would anybody come to my event when they could go to Tony and get it direct from him, and stuff like that. So I had all of those things, but I'm like, okay, I will immerse myself in the study of whatever it is that I want. And what I did is I was working out at the gym, still doing my 6 days a week, every week without taking a day off. And I was successful. Let me just tell you, taking days off, not a thing for me. This is one area of my life I was not going to let go. So last summer, I'm working out 2 hours a day on average.
Wow.
And I purchased Tony Robbins' Creating Lasting Change, a 10-day audio program. And I also purchased his Personal Power 2, a 30-day audio training program. And I purchased a very old Nightingale Conant version of an audio version of Unleash the Power Within training. And that's, I think, 7 or 10 days. And what I did for like 4 months, nonstop, I listened to Tony Robbins 2 hours a day, every day, 6 to 7 days a week. I was listening to that content over and over again, 10 to 15 hours a week. And by the time it came for me to teach it at Free the Dream, it just flowed.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And during that stuff, I was learning all kinds of things, and of course, I'm intentionally sharing some things that are going to lead us into this book recommendation you gave me at Social Media Marketing World. But one of the things that I learned was the greatest force in the human personality is for us to remain consistent with who we believe we are. Said another way, the greatest force in all human personality, the greatest motivation for us, the actions that we take, the greatest force is for us to remain consistent with our self-image.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the deal. I learned that, and I'm like, dude, this is a revelation. And all of a sudden, I took that and I started to evaluate all of my past physical fitness stuff based upon this. It's like, oh my gosh, I realize why I've had this up and down fluctuation in my weight over all of these years. It's because as much weight as I lost, my self-image was I was still this fat guy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I would get down to 212, I would get down to 212, and I would get down to 212. I could never hit the 212. Now, I will tell you, I'll never forget the day I learned that. I did exactly what I do. I immediately turned on Facebook Live, and I sat out in my front seat of my car, did a reflection from the front seat, and I told the world, I said, I am a man who is under 200 pounds, and I will never, and I said, and I may not physically have that today, but I am. That is my self-image.
Right.
3 weeks later, I was under 200 pounds. And not only that, but I made it all the way down to 181. And wow. I'm sitting there, so this is because I'm like crushing it at the gym. It's like, man, this is life. And I'm thinking, it's like, man, I actually may go down to 165. That's kind of just, maybe I will. Or maybe I'm going to build muscle and I might be okay with fluctuating between 165 and 185. That's who I am. I'm totally cool with that. I'm down with that. But one thing I did say, and I told the world, Cliff Ravenscraft will never, in his lifetime, ever be above 200 pounds ever again. John, I weigh 221 pounds right now. I weigh 221 pounds. I still, by the way, work out 6 days a week, every week, with the exception that over the past month and a half, there have been a couple days where I did actually work out 3 days a week. I can give you all of the examples and all the things that were going on with travel and all the other things. Yep. And I have lots of valid excuses that if they were to happen independent of each other, that I would have never counted those against my record of maintaining. But they all happened so close to one another that compounded, I'm like, I've kind of failed. I'm drifting a bit, if you will. And I'm like, man. And so the thing is it's not that I'm not working out. I still working out. My cardiovascular health, as far as I know, I could pull a semi-truck, no problem at all. But man, I sure did get back into some really weird eating habits. I'm talking like, dude, let me and five guys, big burger and fries and just like chips in the house, it takes nothing for me to sit down. It's like, you know what? It's been a busy, hectic couple days. Yeah, let's get a big, gigantic family size bag of Ruffles, and I'll share those with you, Stephanie. And Stephanie will eat a serving and a half or 2 servings, and I eat the rest of the bag. Yep. After I've had crazy it's like, what am I doing? I'm the mindset answer man. And I don't know if you listen to my most recent episode of my podcast, but I'm like, dude, I'm out of my routines, and it's just like, I haven't recorded a podcast in a couple weeks. Well, because quite frankly, the content I feel most called to share is content that is authentic and transparent. But I felt like, you know what, just maybe I can do some work to get myself under 200 so that I can get back to recording content again.
So here's the great thing about your brand. Here's the great thing about you is like, what have you learned from this? What are the lessons that you've picked up from this issue, from this obstacle? Because I know you're not going to give up, and I know you're not going to just wallow and not and you're open about it. So what did you pick up from it? What can you take away from it and share?
Yeah, so there are a couple things that I've learned. First of all, it is our habits and our routines. It's the habit of how we use our body physically. Mm-hmm. It's the habit of what we focus on mentally. And it's the habit of the actions that we take consistently. All right. Yep. So those three things. So basically what I looked back and it's like, wait, by the way, because of all of this, during all of this time, it's like, wait, when I get back from San Diego, it's time to start planning Free the Dream 2019. We're going to go super authentic. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, man, I love this.
So I'm sitting there. It's like, listen, we sold $19,000 worth of tickets at Free the Dream 2018 for the next year.
Wow.
And that money's just been sitting there. It's in escrow. It's ready to be. It's like it's time to start marketing Free the Dream 2019. Yeah. And John, I'm like, man, last year I did not hit my goal of 300, and I know why. I learned a lot of distinctions. But man, when it was all said and done, it was an incredible event. The 87 people that were there, their lives were transformed. I know a majority of those people are all coming back, and they're bringing people with them. That's right. That's what they said. And I don't think for a minute they were just giving me blowing hot air or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I had all of that, but because of my mindset of dealing with some failures and just pondering this stuff, I'm kind of just like tired. I'm out of my routines, and it got so bad, John, that it was time. It was like the day before we had our first official call with Matt and Lauren Brady from Brady Made Events. They're our event production staff. And it was our first meeting with them. Now, once we have our first meeting, that's when it's time for them to send the invoice for the next year. That's our first expense that will be paid out. I literally had the thought, why am I hosting this event again? It wasn't profitable next year. Do I really need this? I mean, it literally cost me money last year. I lost a total of $6,000 on the event itself, but in the marketing of that, I had some belief systems. I didn't market some. So in reality, I could easily tell you that it cost me about $40,000. I lost either opportunity cost or the $6,000 of actual balance sheet. I lost about $40K last year by putting Free the Dream 2018 on. And this is a This is a product that I believe has been validated in several ways. Number one, validated in its effectiveness in what I chose, that the desired outcome that I wanted for everyone who attended, perfectly off the charts. Validated in that, will people pay for it? Yeah. I had people come from France, from Germany. I mean, it's like crazy, but it hasn't been validated as a profitable venture for me. I haven't proven to myself beyond a shadow of a doubt that I know what it takes to market one of these things. And so I asked myself the question. I'm like, and by the way, I would not normally never even ask myself the question, but I got to the place, and this all ties together. How I was doing physically, emotionally, and then I'm like doubting, what if I refunded all $19,000 and just didn't pursue this? But I will go ahead and I want to hear your response to that, and then I'll go back to answer what did I learn and how did I get out of that?
Yeah, because this is so interesting. It comes down to this book we talked about, a social media marketing world, called Psycho-Cybernetics and Visualization, and what you said earlier about we've got to consistently remind ourselves of who we truly are. And I compare it to kind of autopilot versus spending the time to correct the course. And for most of us, at least for me, speaking personally, my autopilot growing up, and I've shared this on my podcast and other places, but like was, overweight, had some issues with abuse and things like that, and low self-esteem and shame and depression. And so my default mode, if I don't consciously try to change it, is that direction. Negative, I'm a failure, I'm going to blow it. And so I have to, like, literally every day, it's like Zig Ziglar said something about, it's like bathing. You have to do it every day or you start to smell bad, right? Like, if I don't put in that time, we can get into how it works later, and if you don't put in that time, filling your head, taking that time, that quiet space to fill your head with conscious thought about who you really are, what you want to accomplish, visualizing the success, reliving and rekindling the success you've had in the past to get what he calls that winning feeling back, then we veer off course. We go into autopilot, and it's like a car that goes into the ditch, and pretty soon you're off road and you're like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? Why is there a bag of chips? And I even relate to it with my weight. I've struggled with it my whole life. And what's helped me in recent weeks, I hadn't applied this yet to psycho-cybernetics. I've exploded my business with it, which we talked about social media marketing world, but I hadn't applied it to my physical appearance. And I've started visualizing, like you said, at the weight I want to be, what I'll look like in a bathing suit, what I'll feel like being, 30, 40 pounds lighter, and I'm eating better. Because that's always been the challenge for me is just, you can't outrun your mouth, so I'll work out like crazy, but then I'll binge eat or eat bad stuff. And that's helped me control that, because this is the great thing about psycho-cybernetics is he talks about your brain, your body, like you literally give yourself these commands and you just do it automatically without thinking. And so if your autopilot default mode is, I'm going to struggle, I'm a loser, I'm going to fail, you'll seek out ways to ensure you fail.
Yes.
Whereas if you re-engineer and reprogram your thoughts, your conscious beliefs to, I have what it takes, I'm feeling like I'm 175 pounds or whatever it is, you will act that way. Yep. And your body will be like, oh, these are the commands that John is telling me. I'm going to put down the pizza, And I happened last night. Like I ate the smallest amount of pizza I've ever eaten in my life, Cliff. And that's like, it's like, glory, it's a miracle. Like that never happens. And I did it subconsciously because I've been spending the week visualizing. And so I hear that in your story, it is getting off track, falling into the autopilot. And I don't know if that's the issue, if that's what happened with you, but it's intriguing for me that's something I relate to.
So I told you I would go back to answer your original question, what did I learn? And it's exactly that. So in psycho-cybernetics, which we'll get into a little bit more about our conversation about why we are talking about this book. We're basically starting at the end first and then going to the beginning of this conversation. I love it. But anyway, here's what I will tell you is that based upon what I've learned recently in the first 5 chapters of psycho-cybernetics, I realized that I have been replaying my failures. So each day I replay the fact that I weigh more on the scale than I did a couple months ago, and that I've experienced that over and over again, and I've been replaying that, and I'm like, man, is today's the day I'm going to do it? Well, yeah, and it's like then all of a sudden there's some more circumstances, and I'm like, it's like and because of the circumstances, but because I've been replaying the failure, my auto servo mechanism has veered me in the direction of my failures, because that's the goal, because I've focused on it. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, it's like, well, gosh, I'm so hyper focused and it's so natural for me to replay my failures. Well, instead of focusing on all of the success that Free the Dream was, you notice that what did I just talk about? Even in the explanation just a few moments ago, I spent a majority of that time telling you about my financial failure. Right. The focus is on how I failed last year, not on how I succeeded. And it's like, whoa. So here's what I learned. I learned why this happened, how I fell off the rails. So what I did is I went back and I'm like, what was I doing this time last year that I didn't do this time this year? Because I can tell you right now, 1 year ago, there wasn't even an ounce of possibility that the last month and a half that I've experienced could have ever happened. 1 year ago, it was not even possible. Mm-hmm. And here's what I can tell you about my pattern of living and my pattern of my physical body, the pattern of what I was focused on, and the pattern of the actions that I took. So here's my pattern back then. I woke up in the morning. I went to the gym. I was working out physically for approximately 90 minutes to 2+ hours. All right. That's wow. It's not because I felt like I had to. I'm telling you, John, I did it because I derived massive pleasure from it.
Yeah.
And I still do today. All right. Number 2, here's the big change. The first thing that I forced myself to do every day was to spend a minimum of 10 minutes and sometimes as much as almost an hour listening to the Think Up app, which is my daily affirmations, where in my own voice, I hear myself telling myself the things that I have, reminding myself of the things that I have intentionally, consciously chosen to believe as true.
Yep.
I would listen to, and sometimes I would get really bored of it, and I'm like, okay, let me just do 10 minutes and then move on. But sometimes I would listen to more. But I did this every single day without fail. I never failed to listen to my daily affirmations. I have the Habit Share app, and every day I have a list of the things that I say that I'm going to do every day, and I mark a green check mark or I put a red X on it. And so I can track, I was successful every day. I did daily affirmations. What do I believe? Why do I believe them? All of that stuff. I'm listening to that about 10 to 50 minutes a day on average. And then immediately after that, I go straight into about an hour of listening to Tony. Or it could be any other professional development. I'm learning something about how this brain works, how this mind works, and how and our behavior systems. Because that's who I am. That's what I want to do. I'm going to immerse myself into the study of whatever I want. And those were the things. And then, of course, after I leave the gym, look out, world, here I come. Right? I can do anything. I am on this earth to do this. And my actions, I was creating content like every single day. Like I would put out a 40-minute vlog almost 5 to 7 days a week. And I
remember this very specifically and seeing a lot less this year.
Oh, a whole lot less this year.
I remember like, where'd Cliff go?
Cliff has been hiding.
But here's the thing. Maltz says in this book, you cannot outperform your self-image. So if you only address, he calls it the circumference of yourself, the external things, you're never going to change. You're never going to outperform that self-image. So where did it start with Cliff? 10 minutes a day, visualizing, recapturing, rekindling what he calls that winning feeling. This is who I really am. I'm the guy that inspired 87 people from all over the world, complete strangers, by the sound of my voice, to come and gather, to give me money. I didn't fail. I invested into the lives of 87 people. And with what I believe is Cliff Ravenscraft, that has eternal consequences. That doesn't end here on earth.
Yep.
Okay. And I planted seeds and I invested, and that will come back in ways I can't imagine. 87 people, like a drop of water in a pond, and it rippled out. Like that's who you were last year in those moments. And then this year, if that time didn't come in, the autopilot veered off into, I'm going to replay and dwell on all the stuff I'm messing up. And then my body, my nervous system literally will go carry it out. Like it will find in the circumstances things to fail with. Like I have an example from my own thing with my business where before I got into this, when someone would email me about one of my online courses with a question, and everyone's email has their phone number in it, right, in the signature, most people's do, I would just passively email back and hope and no pressure and everything. But after I started visualizing these financial goals and things like that I want to do with my business, subconsciously, I just started calling people. Because as anyone knows in sales, when you call someone in the heat of the moment, when they just emailed you a question and they're interested in your product, don't passively email back. Just call them and break the ice. And hey, I thought it'd be easier to have a call. I started closing all these deals. And I started doing things I'd never done before.
Yep.
I got out of being passive, because this is the other thing he talks about in psychocybernetics. He says, your body, your nervous system can literally not tell the difference between a real life experience and one that you vividly imagine. So if you're vividly imagining for 10 minutes every morning how you're going to crush the webinar today, how you're going to crush your sales, you're seeing the money come in, your body thinks it really happened. And so your body's like, well, I better go do that for him.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think no one's going to show up and people are going to troll me and everything, you're going to look for those comments, you're going to focus on those, you're going to shut down, you're going to lose your energy. It's so incredible to me. Like you said, 80% mindset. It is. And I had someone on, I have this cool example, Cliff, of how I observe it in other people. So I have a live chat feature on my webinars where, you're on the page and I can see what you're typing as you're typing it. I don't know if you've seen that or not with the different live chat software. Yeah, so I had one guy who was all fired up, ready to buy the course. And so he's on the checkout page and we're live chatting and he starts typing, my only worry is I've bought courses before and failed. And then he deleted it real quick. And so he didn't know I saw it. And I was like, let's go, let's do this. And then he just dropped off and left. And I was like, that's mindset. Like to the point where I've added in mindset issues now into my webinars because I'm like, I need you to believe in you.
Yep.
And there's so many people that come and they're like, the money makes sense. The budget makes sense. The course makes sense. This is perfect for me. But why won't I pull the trigger? Yep. And it's mindset. And it's one of the gifts that you have and one of the gifts we can share is change your self-image. You're going to change your life. Period.
Absolutely. Well, I want to share with you how I bounced out of it.
Yes.
Because by the way,
I want to hear that. How did you get out of the ditch?
I want to tell you how I got out of the ditch. And it has everything to do with the work that I did last year. All right. So a couple things that I learned through the Tony Robbins materials and I taught at Free the Dream is how to gain massive leverage for yourself. So if you want to change your behavior and have it last a lifetime, then you have to get leverage. And how Tony talks about this is you have to associate massive, unbearable, immediate pain to not doing the thing that you want to do. All right? And you also need to associate massive, immediate pleasure to doing the thing that you want to do. And I will tell you, I spent a lot of work last year associating massive pain to the idea of not doing my daily affirmations. I said, if I don't do this, here are the terrible things that I will feel and experience in my life. And by the way, personal growth and development time. If I don't do this.
Let me stop you though.
Yep.
How do you not get stuck dwelling on that and fearful? How does that not get you into a fearful state?
It doesn't. The thing is
it more just like, it's kind of, I don't want to get hit by a car, I'm going to get out of the street kind of reaction? Is it, maybe that's what it is, tapping into that cave person part of our brain that says, if I don't go out and hunt, I'll starve.
Well, here are a couple things that support this, that lead up to this getting leverage. So the idea is that what Tony says is that the greatest force, the greatest two forces in motivation is our desire to avoid pain.
Okay.
And to gain pleasure, and it's built into our body. And they said, and this is something that's in one of my efforts. Most people will not change until they experience enough pain.
Got it.
So what you have to do. So and here's the deal. I mentally in my mind said, if I'm not doing my affirmations, then this. If I'm not pouring in, not that I have to do it as much as I'm doing it, I'm just an overachiever. But the thing is there is a minimum amount each week that I should be devoted to personal development and growth, to study new things. Because here's the thing, here's the pleasure. When I learn something new from a book like Cybernetics or Psycho-Cybernetics or any of these other ones, when I learn something new, the pleasure that I get is that I immediately have the benefit to share that with others and impact their lives. But if I don't do this, I drift and I shrivel and I stay stagnant and all this stuff. And I am associated so much. So here's what happened. So all of a sudden, this all started about a month and a half ago, right before San Diego. That's when it all happened, is that I stopped my affirmations on a consistent. Actually, I had already kind of drifted away from my affirmations, and I was experiencing a little bit. But then I stopped my personal growth and development time, and I found myself watching, not that there's anything wrong with watching entertainment, but I found myself just watching UK Parliament and being entertained by John Burkow saying, order, and all this other stuff with Brexit. And I found myself watching the Twilight movies while I'm working out. It's like, this is doing nothing for me. And the thing is I had hardwired in myself that what I'm doing should equal pain. And John, what you've heard me say in the beginning of this conversation is over the last several weeks, I've been experiencing pain. I've actually hardwired, and by the way, and the thing is why I will never be above 200 pounds, because if I am above 200 pounds, it means these very terrible, nasty things. And over the last couple of weeks, over the last month and a half, since I've been growing above 200, every pound above 200 was more and more unbearable, massive amounts of pain. And so I'm telling you, I'm extremely thankful for all of the anguish and pain that I've experienced, and how it's even caused me to shrivel up and not want to share publicly and not create as much content. And it's like, man, oh my gosh, this is coming true. I'm not doing what I'm put on this earth to do. So Monday morning, I'm like, I know that I still have a lot of things that are taking me out of my routine. I know that Stephanie and I can't go to the gym together on Tuesday. I know that we can't go to the gym together on Wednesday. I know we've got this going on and I got that. But here's what we did. Monday morning, Stephanie and I went to the gym. I worked out for 2 hours. I did an hour of affirmations and an hour of listening to psycho-cybernetics. Then on Tuesday, couldn't work out at the gym with Stephanie. I got up early, worked out here in my home gym, listened to, I think, 30 or 45 minutes of my affirmations, and listened to another hour or so of psycho-cybernetics. Yesterday, again, worked out at home because I knew I couldn't work out with Stephanie at the gym. Didn't have enough time to go to the gym and get back for my mastermind calls. So I got up and I did 2 hours here in my home gym, did my affirmations for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I listened to another audio chapter of psycho-cybernetics. This morning, Stephanie and I could go to the gym. We did an hour and a half today, and I listened to my affirmations, and I listened to another chapter of psycho-cybernetics. And I'm like, wow, I'm excited. This is awesome. Yes. And by the way, get this. Since Monday, I told you that I weighed 221. I've actually lost 3 pounds since Monday.
Jeez, that's so good.
So the thing, it's like, this is, so to answer your question, it's like, it's the fact that I did the work last year that says, wait a second, I did get leverage. I said, if my life circumstances equal, I'm not doing my affirmations, I'm not growing and learning new things so that I can share with other people. And if I am getting out of control with my eating and stuff like that, I'm going to be overweight. And you know what? I would judge me. If I was in the audience, I would judge me. Who is Cliff to tell me how to gain success in life if he can't even gain success over his physical body? I would judge me. So I feel like other people would. It's like I associate, it's like boom. And it's just the fact that I had associated all that pain plus all the pleasure of actually doing the things that Monday morning back at it. And you saw the message that I sent you from the gym this morning.
You were fired up, dude. You were fired up. And this is what's great about choosing how to build your brand online, because when you chose all those years ago to build an authentic, transparent brand, that gives you permission to share these struggles. If you had built a false, phony, I'm always in shape, tip top, super happy, never struggled brand, you would shrivel up and never come back, right? But that's why I love the authenticity of what you're doing today, even is just, yeah, I hit a bump in the road. I hit an obstacle. Here's what I learned. Here's the mindset lesson I pulled out of it. And I always look at failures like, the torpedo analogy he uses in the book of you're going to zigzag toward your target. It's never a straight, easy line. And when he wrote the book, I think in the 40s, so like World War II and torpedoes and submarines. And so he uses the analogy of when you shoot a torpedo in the water, toward a boat, it has to zigzag back and forth to get to the target.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it knows the goal. It knows the target.
Knows the goal.
We know where the target is. That's where it needs to go. But these things don't just shoot in a straight direction. It's natural. And so there are built-in mechanisms, auto server, what is it called?
His language is crazy. I can't.
Auto servo mechanism. And it's kind of like a Segway. Remember the Segways when they first came out? It's like they stand up. It's like there was this mechanism that has a gyroscope that keeps it standing up. And they've got GPS that all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, you're veering off course because the wind blew you. That means we need a little bit more propulsion on the left to correct that failure.
Course corrections, minor course corrections, never getting stuck. The only time people listening to this are going to be stuck and fail is when they quit, when they stop.
Yeah. And there's the one thing is I have not failed in the fact that Okay, so that's the question is, what is failure? I said I will never in my life ever be above 200. I experienced over 200. The question for me is how does one define failure? And the thing is we all choose how we define it. Now, some may actually say, well, I define failure that if you said you were never going to be over 200 and you're a fraud. All right? Okay, that's how you choose to define it. I define this as this was massive success, what I've just experienced over this past year. I'm choosing to define it as success because, man, here's what I love is I have put to the test this mindset stuff that I publicly stated to the world. This is how this mindset stuff works. And I buy into this, I believe it, and now I'm teaching it. But now all of a sudden, I come away from this. I had some experiences, and as a result of some other things, this is how things came up, and all of a sudden, it did not necessarily turn out exactly how I envisioned it would. But here's how I'm course correcting. And the one thing I love about it, and why I define this experience as success, is the number of people that I work with through mastermind groups and mentoring. I hear them struggling. And they feel like they're the only ones who have a gap between what they say they're going to do and what they're achieving. And it's like, but they've had periods of time where they did and why life was great. But when they don't, they feel like, I want to give up. And I'm glad that I experienced this after having taught it because it gives me yet another, let me tell you, if you think I have it all together, I don't. I don't have everything all figured out. I still sometimes sleep until noon because I just don't want to get out of bed today. And I love the fact that I experienced this because it keeps me connected to what people are doing. Now, I don't want to say that I want this failure. I want new failures in the future so I can learn from them. I don't want to. I just don't want to keep learning from the same failures over and over again.
Yeah, and it's really about, the destination and the fact that people want to be on this journey with you. And there's never a leader that doesn't have setbacks. There's never, and I feel like you're one of those people that you're like leading a tribe. It's very obvious. Like you're kind of like this Pied Piper for so many people that are following along, and they want a real, authentic, transparent human person. They don't want a polished, bronzed, perfect, because I can't relate to a perfect person because I'm not. I can relate to a regular person who can own up when they struggle, can tell me more importantly what they learned and how I can avoid that or how I can, relate to that experience and improve too. And that's the thing about it is you're going to fail constantly. It's just a matter of the quick course corrections. Fail fast, adjust even faster, and I woke up Tuesday miserable and depressed. Autopilot was kicked in, and I'm like, as much as I don't want to, I'm going to do 10 minutes of visualization, flipped the entire day around, had an amazing day.
That's awesome.
It's just that simple, and it's also that hard. You cannot outperform your conscious self-image, and that's where all of this leads back to. And kudos to you for sharing the journey, man. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you agreed to come on because I felt like if I could have this as a conversation rather than just because, it's so valuable. So let's start the beginning of the conversation. Who is John Nemo?
I'm Cliff's confessional partner apparently today.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 3 months since my last confession.
Yeah, I am, where do I start? So I am a solopreneur. I guess I'm an online course creator, a coach, a consultant. And my aim, I serve a lot of business coaches and consultants and small business owners. I help them use LinkedIn in particular to find clients to sell online without being spammy. I've written 8 books. I do online courses on LinkedIn and content marketing and webinars. And my passion, Cliff, is I'm the son of 2 English teachers, man. So I love to read, I love to learn, and I love to teach. And that's what makes me come alive is, like you, digesting all this cool stuff and then teaching it.
Yeah.
And going, wow, did you know you could do this with LinkedIn? This is amazing. And then sharing the journey too and being real authentic because I feel like in my own journey, that's what I need. I look for people like Cliff to relate to. And so that's my passion every day as I go out, I learn, I devour something new, and then I teach it to people through an online course, through a book, with the focus of how you can use this for business. And I have a podcast called Nemo Radio, and it's online marketing and motivation, and really combining, like you said, the strategies which are out there, but also with the mindset and really helping inspire people. Infotainment. I love it. I haven't worked a day job since 2012.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about massive pain. Like, when I'm feeling like I don't want to deal with something, I'm like, I could go back to that day job. No. Okay, I'm back. Like, and I love the era we live in. I just feel tremendously blessed to be home every day with my wife and kids, to get to do what I love, to call my own shots. And I want to inspire all the other people out there that are afraid to do it. Or, like when I left my day job, man, I had one client and I had enough money for 30 days. And I had 3 kids at home under the age of 10 and my wife who didn't work. So like, I didn't have investors. And my whole story was I used LinkedIn quickly to find a bunch of clients and business and stay alive. And that just spawned into all the other things. And so I meet so many people, Cliff, like you and me, that's what's holding them back, is that mindset, that belief, that passion. And it's like, I can show you the tactics and strategies, which I do, the how-to, but I also love bringing in the belief, because even with my one-on-one coaching clients, so many of them struggle the same way. I had one client that was like, I just can't do this. It's not working. I'm like, let me just remind you, you're the client that you as a coach help someone go from $6,000 a year to $600,000 a year in revenue. Like, you coach that person to that result. I'm like, you need to bring that person to your next call. Like, that's who you are.
Yes. Not
the person on autopilot today feeling down. And that's what gets me out of bed every morning is doing what we get to do, man. It's awesome.
It is awesome. What was your day job that you left, and how long ago did you leave it?
Yeah. So back in my story, I started out as a journalist. I worked for newspapers, Associated Press. I transitioned into public relations, and I was working for different trade associations and then social media. And back in 2012, I was working for a trade association here in Minneapolis. And my penultimate moment was I was in a meeting about men in tights and fake trees. This is what I talk about. Like, that's when I was like, I gotta get out of this place. Like, I was doing PR and social media for a labor union, a nurses union, and great, love nurses. My sister's a nurse, but we also had the employer I worked for had a lot of political activity, like a lot of unions do. And they wanted to do a protest about a Robin Hood tax, like take from the rich and give to the poor. And so we were I was spending my years of experience and all this other stuff in a meeting about what type of fake trees should we order for the public relations, skit. Let's get tights for men, and let's get, this for women. And I'm like, and you want me to do a press release about this? And I'm like, dude, I can't. This is now what I was put on the earth to do.
Right.
And so I had a lot of fear, and I didn't have the mindset. I didn't know what I was doing, but I started a side hustle doing marketing, marketing using all my skills. I got one guy that believed in me. He's like, dude, you'll make a killing at this. You'll be great. I'll hire you, do a website project. I think it was for like $15,000. And I'm like, that's enough money for like a month, right? Like with mortgage and expenses and healthcare and all that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And so I jumped, and everyone at that place thought I was nuts because I worked for a labor union. I was making 6 figures. I had a safe job. You can't get fired when you work for a union. It's very hard. I could have coasted in for the next 20 years.
Yep.
And I just remember driving. I remember walking down the back steps of that office that day, Cliff. It was November 4th, 2012. I think it was election day. And I just remember it was cold. It was bitter. And I was on fire. I was so excited and terrified. And that forced me, like pain, like the fear and the pain of failing, forced me to get on LinkedIn and try some new approaches. And I failed and fell down and got up and got advice and learned more. And within 90 days of doing this system on LinkedIn, I generated 6 figures in revenue. I had replaced my salary from my old job. Nice. Now, all of a sudden, I had a bunch of clients and a marketing agency. I'm like, oh my gosh. And that just spawned into then teaching it as a course and writing a book called LinkedIn Riches. And then that led into, hey, I really like how you do content marketing. And that led into a course and a book called Content Marketing Made Easy. And that led into webinars that work because I sell everything on webinars. And my big obsession currently is automation and personalization. So how do I impact people one-on-one, help them, give them what they need, but also automate my systems so that I'm not spending 14 hours a day talking to people one-on-one and not with my family. And I love the idea of what we're doing, which is bottling up content. So if someone emails me today, Cliff, and says, what's your best advice? I'm just struggling with, negative thinking and stuff. I'm going to go, you should listen to Cliff Ravenscraft's podcast. We just talked about this. Here's content. It will help you.
Yep.
I don't feel bad. I've bottled up my advice to you. And that's what you do with your content. And that's what I love about you can serve more people with your content without feeling like, but I need to be there one-on-one with every person, because it's just not scalable. And that's what's really exciting.
That is so awesome. Well, John, you have been a consistent source of encouragement to me over the years. One of the things I remember you saying, hey, you emailed me and said, listen, I really love what you're doing. I'd love to see more people learn about you. I have the ability, if you would like, I'd love to get your story published in Inc. magazine's online site and a couple other online journalistic avenues, and I'll put you on my podcast. Can I interview you? And I'm like, no, I'm not interested in any of that.
Can I promote you, Cliff? Please. Yes.
No, I obviously I took you up on that, and we had a conversation, and of course you put it in your podcast. But you wrote articles, and I think there are at least 2 or 3 different places, like high quality, very well respected outlets, journalistic outlets, not just like, medium.com. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm talking like Inc. magazine, fortune.com, and some other Business Insider places, these kind of really good journalists. And you did that for me. And that made an impact on me personally. When anybody ever mentioned the name John Nemo, it's like, I like that guy. I don't feel like he did this to get something in return. He genuinely wanted to do something to help promote my message in the world. And you and I met each other for the first time face to face in San Diego just a couple weeks ago at the speaker party for Social Media Marketing World. And I got to tell you, that was a great joy to meet you face to face. And I really believe that you and I are having this conversation not just as 2 people who are online business people who know each other and have collaborated on what we did previously, but I consider you to be a friend today. I mean, I texted you a personalized video this morning from the gym.
That was so good. Yeah, and that's like one of the things when I was starting out was I was looking at people that I admired, like Cliff Ravenscraft, Chris Brogan, all these other people, and I'm like, how do I get into their world? How do I build a relationship with someone like Cliff? I can't just come to him with my hand out going, hey, I really would like to pick your brain and get advice. And, I really like your message. Like, and I know you're a nice guy and whatever. And what I thought was, well, how can I bring value to him in an authentic way that's going to help him and, get a relationship going? And so for you, it was like, well, I have this platform. You have a great story to tell. I'm a storyteller. I can promote you. It's going to help you. It's going to help the readers, and it's going to start a relationship. And then, that led into, your ability to introduce me to other people. And then I even approached Chris Brogan and said, hey, I know you don't know me. Can I rewrite your LinkedIn profile for free? If you don't like it, you don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to talk to me, but I'd love to do you a favor. And he's like, yeah, nobody's ever offered that. Sure. Dude, whoever you are. So I put in all the work. I wrote a great profile for him. He loved it. He used it. And then he's like, well, why don't you come on and we'll have a little video and we'll talk about it and promote you. And I didn't immediately ask for that, but I just look at it like, what I've learned, Cliff, is like, you've got to bring value to relationships, yes. Right? And you've got to be giving without an expectation of anything in return. Like, yes. I didn't come to you, Cliff, and go, now, Cliff, when I do this, I'm planning on having you promote me later. I just was like, hey, I want to do this for you. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah. And I've been approached. And authentic. I've been approached by so many people who is like, Cliff, I want to invite you onto a webinar to promote you to my audience and stuff like that. And, oh, by the way, here are the 10 things that you can email to your email list to promote this.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know you. I don't like you. I don't trust you yet. Like, we don't have a relationship. And it's, and I just looked at the people at your level and was like, how can I bring value and start a relationship? Yeah. Michael Stelzner, same thing, where the only way I got into his world was I did the same approach with Ray Edwards. I approached Ray Edwards, who and I said, Ray, I know you don't know me. I'm a fan of your show. I listen to your podcast. I bought your courses. Can I try and rewrite your LinkedIn profile? You don't have to do any work. I know your brand. I'll go on your website. I just want permission to try, and I'll email you a document. He's like, sure, knock yourself out. Thanks for being a customer. Ray loved it. That led to a relationship where then he had me on his podcast. Him and Michael are friends, obviously, as everyone knows.
Yep.
Michael heard me on Ray's podcast, said, why don't you come on the Social Media Marketing World podcast or marketing podcast? That went really well. And then he said, why don't you come talk?
Yep.
And that it's just through bringing value to people like Cliff Ravenscraft and Ray Edwards without knowing where it would go.
Yep.
Right. And I didn't go to Ray and say, now there's going to be a quid pro quo here where you better do something for me. I just was like, it's on me to bring you value and demonstrate it.
Yeah.
And I think that's how, for people listening, if you're like, well, how would I get the time and attention of Chris Brogan or Cliff, and bring him something of value? Listen to Cliff. Where does he need help? Go, hey, Cliff, I know you talked about this is a pain point for you in your business. I help solve this. Can I do it for free with no expectations? See if you like it. If not, no problem. If Cliff likes that, Cliff's the kind of guy that's going to go nuts and sing your praises, and share you and promote you. And it's like, that's win-win for everybody because it's good content for your show. It's good content for, your audience, and that person gets promoted. And it's just, that's how the world works, isn't it?
It is. It's how the world works. It's this thing of reciprocity, and what I love is that you give time. What I love about our relationship over time is that you did not immediately expect reciprocity to kick in. This idea of, I don't expect anything in return. And you did that for me years ago, the Inc. magazine. And but the thing is when we saw each other at Social Media Marketing World face to face, it's like, man, I know this is, but this is how reciprocity. I owe this guy a debt.
Interesting.
Interesting. There is a debt owed to John Nemo, and in my mind, because that's how reciprocity works. It's like when somebody does something of value for you, you instinctively, in our human nature, we desire to return value to someone, and it doesn't necessarily. You short circuit that. If somebody had, because there's been a number of people who have done things, they certainly have tons of gifts, they have tons of talents, and they say, Cliff, I'd like to do this for you. And then they do it, and then they short circuit the process by saying, oh, now here's what I would like in return.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that I don't like. I felt like I was being manipulated in this. All this, it's like I thought this was a gift, and this is now I see that you're just you're invoicing me on the back end.
Yeah, and it's too, like when I learned, like I did this approach to raise my platform with my LinkedIn training and LinkedIn Riches. And so how did you get Chris Brogan to blurb you? And how did you get John Lee Dumas? How'd you get on Entrepreneur on Fire? I cold approached all of them, put in tons and tons of work behind the scenes, really worked hard to rewrite their profiles. And with John Lee Dumas and Chris Brogan and Cliff Ravenscraft and Ray Edwards, it worked great. With some other A-list big name people, it didn't work out. And they were like, no, not for me, or they liked it, but there was never a good vibe. And it was okay. I was like, I'm learning, I'm processing, I'm planting seeds to harvest later.
And
I'm
the cool thing is
people.
And the cool thing is some of those A-listers, John, maybe some of those ones like it didn't work out, and you could put at the word yet. It hasn't yet.
Yes.
Correct. You never know, because I have a feeling that when you add value to someone's life, the seed of reciprocity has been planted.
Correct. Yeah, and it might not be immediate, and that's a good point because all of it was on good terms and good relationships. And some people are like, well, it's not a focus right now. Nah, like I did this with, here's an example, one A-lister, Gary Vaynerchuk. I rewrote his profile.
Yep.
And direct message with him. And we went back and forth, and his team wanted to approve it and not approve it. And then it got just complicated. And then nothing's happened yet, but he will take my messages, so to speak. If I message him, he replies. Like at least we've got a relationship now.
Well, here's the thing.
Who knows where that'll lead?
Well, hold on. The thing is here's another thing to consider. Because again, I have this firm belief that the seed always grows.
Right.
I at least always, maybe almost always grows. So the thing is what if it already has been returned to you in ways that you don't currently know and may never know. So, for example, Gary, based upon his team and the people, they might advise him, we don't want to bring somebody that we don't know that well, that, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is Gary is a very personal person, and I know that he cares about people, and the name John Nemo would probably stand out to Gary Vaynerchuk. I know Gary well enough to know that that's true. So I bet you there have been potentially times when somebody's reached out and says, have you ever heard of this guy named John Nemo? He reached out to me and offered to, dude, take him up on that. He's great. My team wasn't all that crazy about, some of the changes he wanted to make and all this other stuff, but John Nemo's the real deal. Now that may in the eyes of those people could be this, by the way, this hypothetically could have happened already.
I mean, I've had some big names approach me that I don't know how or why they came.
And it could be because of some of those behind the doors conversations.
Backroom conversations. Do you know a good LinkedIn guy? Yeah. There was this interesting guy in Minnesota. My team didn't, because it was just about his team and wanting to control his brand, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But that could very well be. Because do you know someone who knows podcasting? Oh, this guy, Cliff Ravenscraft, he's great, blah, blah, blah. Like, you got to hear his story, and that's where this reciprocity comes in. I think you're right, man.
Yeah. So don't be surprised if those things did work out or are working out in your favor and you're not aware of them. So keep doing them.
I will. This has been fascinating.
So I told you we started at the end in the beginning and we ended in the beginning. Anyway, just real quickly, we've dropped the name a couple times. You and I talked about this. It's a book I heard about years ago. There's several books that have come up over and over again all throughout my personal development, focus. Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there's this list of books that people, Awaken the Giant Within, and we could go on and on. But one book that has come up a number of times, but I've just been polling those that are in my mastermind groups, and it's surprising that it's only about 30% of those in my mastermind groups have ever heard of psycho-cybernetics. But this book has been right up there in my mind with the other ones. It's just one book I haven't got around to reading yet. And in my mind, I thought it was just going to be another one of those woo-woo books. And woo-woo, I would define as maybe unscientific and maybe a little new agey, and it's all about the universal energy sources and all that stuff. But still, I'd heard enough great things about it that eventually I was going to read it. But you convinced me to read it in San Diego and put it at the top of my list. We're going to wrap this recording up here in just a moment, but I'm going to be talking about some of the insights that I've gained and how it's actually how I've learned that Tony got so much of the things I've learned from him from this book. I'm going to be talking about that in future content, vlogs, email newsletters, and in this podcast and my other podcast called The Audio Journal. But we've already weaved in just a little bit of sprinkling, but I want you to give my audience, John, a sales pitch on why they should go get a copy of the new and the updated and revised version of Dr. Maxwell Maltz's book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Go.
Yeah. I think really, I'm like you. I read a lot of these other books, Think and Grow Rich, Giant Within, Tony. Nothing ever clicked for me until I got this book. And the story behind it, it's a goofy title. I understand. Get past that. Maxwell Maltz was a guy, he was a plastic surgeon to the stars back in the 40s and I think 50s. And he really noticed an interesting thing. He would fix people's exterior features, but yet they still viewed themselves as ugly. They still would look in the mirror with a perfectly fixed nose and say, I'm ugly, I'm hideous. So that led him into pioneering this field of self-image. What's going on? Like physically you're fine, emotionally you still view yourself. So that led him into this book and this study. And what I've seen, Cliff, now is so many people have built off that. Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, all of it came from that book. It's really, and Napoleon Hill too, but this book really is the best version I've seen and the most non-woo-woo version of very practical, very actionable, very clear-cut of this is why this works. This is why you can't outperform your self-image. Here's the reasoning. And here's how you can change it. Here's very simple things you can do. And the one I talked to you about at Social Media Marketing World was you said, I have this vision. I'm going to be on this stage and I can feel the energy and the smoke and the lights, and I'm coming up the steps and people are going nuts. And
and the smell of
you had a distinct smell.
There's literally the smell of beer that was spilt on the floor over the last couple concerts that were in the venue.
Right, because it's an arena. Because it's
an
huge.
arena.
And I said, dude, this is psychocybernetics. Like, you're literally describing what he advises for the visualization exercises. The more you can bring in your senses, sight, taste, sound, smell, in the imagination, the more your body thinks it's a real event.
Yep.
And I compare it to virtual reality, where you sit and put on the goggles and think you're on a roller coaster. Same approach. You just do it with your mind. And it unleashes and unearths and rekindles these, scientifically, the endorphins and the feelings and the emotions. You act how you feel. Cliff comes out this morning. I'm on top of the world, man. Why? Yeah. Well, I worked out for 2 hours, flooded endorphins. I visualized and dwelled and obsessed over all the things I'm awesome at and have done great with. Now I'm ready to take on the world. Who's going to get in my way? Nobody.
Yeah. And if you go back to the thing is when you have this picture in your mind, that your brain sees that as the goal and says, yes, I'm going to go to work to make that a reality. Yeah, because this is reality. As a matter of fact, it actually sees it as being real because your brain doesn't know the difference between something real and imagined. And so the thing is it's like, well, this is the life Cliff lives. This is where he's going, and I'm going to keep him on target. And so that's why, last week when that thought, it's like, maybe I should just it's like, no. In spite of the fact that this has not been yet proven, it's like, why am I? Because I'm drawn to this. My auto servo mechanism, or my success mechanism that's built into me, is drawing me towards the picture that it believes and knows is my future.
All right, I'm going to share a little, now that we're in confessional mode, I'm going to share the story I told you at Social Media Marketing World. When I first kind of got back into this book last August, I had the worst month in the history of my business. And for me, it was, some people might think it's a great month. Some people might think it's bad. For me, I made $19,000 in sales. And it was the worst month I'd ever had. I was miserable. We had a bunch of family stuff. A loved one died and things like that. And so I was just totally down. And I got into this book and I started doing the exercises. So that was in August. In September, my revenue went up to $45,000. In October, it went up to $75,000. Okay, so in a 60-day period, it just, and you heard me and you go, okay, John, people have been telling me about this. It's been on my list. You have convinced me. And right there on the spot, you pulled out your phone and bought the audiobook. Yeah. And I have not looked back. Like, I have kept that revenue level up there, and it's when I do what I learned in the book. And it's, now I'm applying it to my personal life and weight loss and it's not some woo-woo magical thing. It's just, I teach it to my kid, Cliff. He's 14, and he's like, I really like bowling, but I'm terrible at it. I'm like, why don't you visualize throwing strikes? He went out and bowled like a 140. Like that. Those are things from the book where they've showed the scientific proof of. They took two groups. One practiced free throws in basketball physically. One just visualized making them, and they had the same improvement.
Yeah, one was,
you can't tell.
I think one was 14% improvement. The other one was 13% improvement. And they had a third group that didn't do any practice, and they didn't improve at all.
At all, yeah. So, it's amazing. It's an amazing book.
It was within 1% those who visualized practicing versus those who physically practiced. It was near the same. Incredible. Yep. Great stuff. And as far as the two things, real quickly, because I know we have a commonality of our faith background as well, and so many of my audience do as well. So I want to address the woo-woo nature of some of this. First of all, I want to tell you, this is the first book of this nature where Dr. Maxwell Maltz actually, I think it's chapter 2, you do hear the fact that he talks about that we seem to have access to an infinite intelligence, and stuff like that. But he actually mildly associates it to God, the creator.
He does, yeah.
And it's the first time I've actually heard that. And he brings God into the conversation. I'm on I think I just finished chapter 5. I've heard God mentioned at least 9 or 10 times.
He mentions it more too at the end when he talks about God didn't put you on this earth to be average. And he says, God made you unique. There's only one you.
Yeah.
You're not competing with anyone. And he does. He talks about some parables from Jesus. Yeah. And Jesus is my guy. So I loved it. And I love the fact that it's combining that with your faith, because part of what I do every day is I go to Jesus and I'm in the visualization, just going to him for grace and hugs and love and filling me back up to get validated, so that when I run into online trolls, they don't get to control my self-esteem.
Yep.
I'm good, and that's part of what I learned in that book, is finding that place, that safe place to be.
And the second thing I want to address, and even you shared it, is like, yeah, it's a crazy name for a book. No, it's not. Actually, I love the name Psycho Cybernetics, because right as I'm sitting there getting ready to read it, the first thing I do is I go and Google the definition of cybernetics.
Yeah.
So then I learned that it is about this auto servo mechanisms that basically keep you on target towards a goal. So it's the cyber. So it basically, and of course, if you listen to the intro and the first chapter, he tells you that we are not a machine, but there's this mechanism that works like a machine, and he gives you the so when if you understand if you go and Google the definition of cybernetics, you'll have a really good clear picture of what this is leading to. And then the psycho is psychology, and of course I've become fascinated in behavioral studies, and so the name psycho or psychological cybernetics makes it's the perfect name for this book. And I got to tell you, the interesting thing is, out of all the books, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, those things, I've read both of those books, and I highly recommend both of those books. The Think and Grow Rich is a little bit more on the woo-woo side that seems less compatible with an understanding of God, but still truth is truth that God made true. But here's what I will tell you is, out of all the books I've ever read or heard of in this space, the one book that had the most fascinating title for me is Psycho Cybernetics. Yeah. But I never did read it. I never got around to reading it. But man, what you said at Social Media Marketing World and what we've talked about here convinced me to bump it to the very top of my list, and I'm glad. And this is one of those books. I'm listening through to the audiobook right now. When I finish the audiobook, I have the Kindle version as well. I will go in and start highlighting and making notes. And I will also, at the same time that I'm going through the Kindle version, I will be re-listening to the audio version again while at the gym. And there's going to be a significant amount of content. I told my friends last night in the evening session of the Next Level Mastermind, I said, this is this year's big leap, or this is the new big leap for me. This is the book that I'm going way down deep in. And I believe that the opening keynote address for Free the Dream 2019 will be based upon the insights. A really good condensed version of Psycho Cybernetics will be the opening keynote for Free the Dream 2019.
Fantastic.
I wanted to bring you on the show because I wanted people to know where I was finally convinced to read this book and why.
I accosted Cliff Ravenscraft. I admit it. I basically tackled him at the speaker party. I'm like, Cliff, we finally met. And I'm like, once you mention that visualization, I'm like, all right, you got to read this book. You just described exactly that vision you have. That book's going to make it reality. And I have no doubt it will. I have no doubt you're going to fill an arena. And I'm going to be there, man. And hopefully I wasn't the one spilling all the beer. But it's going to be awesome.
John, it has been a joy. Where can people, Nemo Radio, go find it in your favorite podcast app. Just look up Nemo, Nemo Radio. But online on a website, where can they go find some of your materials?
Yeah, thank you. So the podcast, NemoRadio.com, like Finding Nemo, NemoRadio.com. The LinkedIn training is probably the best place to start, LinkedInRiches.com, like the word LinkedIn and then riches, LinkedInRiches.com. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, John Nemo. You can find me, just like the movie, right? So, yeah, look forward to connecting with everybody.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, I'm very picky and choosy about who I bring onto my show. And I will tell you that John Nemo is the real deal, my friends. And I highly encourage you to check out his stuff.
Thanks so much.
Well, there you go, my friends. That was the conversation that I had with John Nemo, and I got to tell you, it feels so good to share all of that information out in the open. I hope that you'll go out and grab a copy of Psycho Cybernetics and read it along with me, and look forward to some content where I'm going to be sharing some more insights in the very near future. And if you haven't done so already, you want to go ahead and grab your tickets over at freethedreamconference.com. freethedreamconference.com. Official planning has begun, and our speakers for 2019 will be announced very soon. But as those announcements start coming out, the pricing of the event will go up. There's a special price on there on the website right now. If you grab those tickets, you'll be able to get the best discount you could possibly get right now on the website, freethedreamconference.com. I look forward to seeing you this September in Franklin, Tennessee. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.
Mindset and